The transport shuttle trembled as it broke through the artificial atmosphere of Deathworld Training Station, and Maya Rourke pressed her face against the viewport, watching the massive structure rotate slowly against the backdrop of dying stars. At 19, she was one of the youngest human cadets ever accepted into the Intergalactic Military Academy. Though accepted was perhaps too generous a term. Tolerated might be more accurate. "First time seeing it?" asked a gravelly voice beside her. Maya turned to find herself looking up at a Thoraxian cadet. His forearms crossed in what she'd learned was their version of casual interest. His exoskeleton gleamed purple under the shuttle's harsh lighting, and his compound eyes reflected her image 1,000 times over. "Yes," she replied simply, not offering more. She'd learned during the 3-day journey that most aliens expected humans to be either overly aggressive or pathetically weak. Better to be mysterious than to confirm their biases. The Thoraxian clicked his mandibles in what might have been amusement. "You'll either love it or die trying. Most Deathworlders don't make it past the first month." "Good thing I'm not most Deathworlders then." The shuttle lurched as it connected with the docking bay, and Maya grabbed her single duffel bag, waiting for the other cadets to file out first. She counted 32 different species among the 100 or so new arrivals, from the serpentine Vilorians, who moved on modified grav plates, to the hulking Chronari, whose every step made the deck plates groan. And then there was her, barely 5.5 feet tall, with no claws, no natural armor, no venom sacs or enhanced musculature, just soft pink skin, brown hair tied in a regulation bun, and eyes that had seen too much for someone so young. The docking bay was a marvel of engineering, its walls composed of living metal that adjusted to accommodate the atmospheric needs of different sections. Maya's standard-issue translator implant buzzed to life as they were herded toward processing, picking up dozens of conversations in languages that would have been impossible for human vocal cords to reproduce. "Look at that," someone whispered in Galactic Standard. "They actually let one through." "Probably won't last the week. Humans break so easily." "I heard they eat their own dead." "No, that's the Vorgaths. Humans just kill everything." Maya kept walking, her expression neutral. Let them talk. Her father had taught her that the best weapon was the one your enemy never saw coming. Of course, her father was dead now, killed in the Meridian conflict when human colonists had been caught in the crossfire between two alien factions who couldn't even remember what they were fighting about. The official report called it an accident. Maya called it murder. Processing took 6 hours. The Academy's AI scanned her genetic code, took tissue samples, recorded her biometric data, and subjected her to psychological evaluations designed for 17 different types of consciousness. When they finally released her, she was exhausted, hungry, and wearing the slate-gray uniform that marked her as a first-year cadet. The fabric was some kind of smart material that adjusted to her body temperature and movement. But it felt wrong against her skin, too smooth, too alien. Her quarters were in Section 9, designated for oxygen-breathing carbon-based lifeforms with standard gravity requirements. The hallway stretched endlessly, its walls displaying a holographic star map that showed their current position relative to the galactic core. Maya found her room number and pressed her hand against the biolock. The door slid open to reveal a space about the size of a cargo container, with 2 beds, 2 desks, and a shared sanitation alcove. One bed was already claimed, covered in what looked like a nest made of synthetic fibers and glowing softly with bioluminescent patches. Oh, you're actually here." The voice came from behind her, and Maya spun instinctively, her hand moving to where a weapon would have been if she'd been armed. Instead, she found herself face to face with what could only be described as a 6-foot-tall teddy bear. The creature had fur the color of sunset, 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, and was bouncing on its digitigrade legs with barely contained excitement. "I'm Taro," the alien announced, extending one of its three-fingered hands. I'm from Fusion Prime. Well, actually, I'm from the third moon of Fusion Prime, but nobody knows where that is. So I just say, Fusion Prime. You're the human, right, Maya Rourke? I read your file. Well, not your file exactly, because that would be against regulations. But I maybe accidentally saw your name on the roster, and I looked up humans because I've never met one before. And did you know your species survived on a planet where the wildlife actively tries to kill you? That's amazing, and we're roommates. Maya blinked, trying to process the verbal avalanche. You're not afraid of me. Taro tilted his head, all four eyes blinking in sequence. Should I be? You seem nice. A little quiet. But my clutch mother always said I talked enough for 6 people. So that's probably good. Oh, I brought snacks from home. Do you eat fermented fruit? No. Wait. I read that's poisonous to you. How about crystallized protein bars? Everyone likes those. Despite herself, Maya felt the corner of her mouth twitch upward. Protein bars sound good. As Taro rummaged through his belongings, chattering about the 37 different varieties of protein bars he'd brought, Maya set down her duffel and surveyed the room more carefully. The walls were equipped with environmental controls, allowing each occupant to adjust their half of the room to their preferences. The window looked out onto the training grounds, a vast expanse of shifting terrain that could simulate any battlefield in known space. So, Taro said, finally finding the protein bars and offering her one that glowed faintly blue. What made you want to join the academy for me? It was the adventure and the uniforms. These uniforms are so much better than what we wear on Fusion Prime. Everything there is just fur-toned, which is boring when you already have fur, you know. Maya took the protein bar, surprised to find it tasted like honey and cinnamon. I have my reasons. Mysterious, I like it. Very Deathworlder of you. Taro flopped onto his bed, somehow managing to look graceful despite his bulk. Fair warning, though. Tomorrow's going to be rough. First day of classes, and I heard Instructor Kale is teaching combat dynamics. He's a Zeran warrior, fought in 3 galactic wars, and supposedly, he once killed a void beast with nothing but a broken plasma conduit. Kyle, Maya repeated, filing the name away. She'd done her research on the academy staff, but details on the instructors were surprisingly sparse. Yeah, he's legendary. And terrifying. Mostly terrifying. Taro's 4 eyes suddenly focused on her with surprising intensity. You'll want to be careful. I know humans are supposed to be tough, but some of the cadets here, they don't like Deathworlders. They think you're all unstable killing machines. And what do you think? Taro considered this for a moment, his fur rippling in what Maya was learning was his species' equivalent of a shrug. I think anyone who can make it to the academy deserves to be here. Plus, you haven't killed me yet, so you can't be that unstable. The night's still young, Maya deadpanned, and was rewarded with Taro's barking laugh. They spent the rest of the evening in comfortable companionship, with Taro explaining the academy's unofficial rules and hierarchies while Maya listened and memorized everything. She learned that the Chronari ran most of the combat clubs, that the Vylorians controlled the intellectual societies, and that there was an ongoing rivalry between Section 9 and Section 12 that occasionally resulted in accidents during training exercises. When the lights dimmed to simulate night cycle, Maya lay in her bed, staring at the ceiling and thinking about her father. Marcus Rourke had been a peacekeeper, believing that humans could find their place in the galactic community through diplomacy and understanding. He'd died still believing that, even as alien weapons tore through the hull of the transport ship he'd been trying to evacuate. Maya had no such illusions. The galaxy respected only strength, and she would show them exactly how strong a human could be. She woke before the morning alarm, a habit drilled into her during years of preparation. Taro was still snoring, a sound like a malfunctioning atmospheric processor. All four eyes sealed shut. Maya dressed quickly and silently, then made her way to the training grounds for her morning routine. The artificial dawn was just beginning to break over the Horizon simulator when she arrived. The grounds were mostly empty, save for a few dedicated cadets running laps or practicing forms. Maya found an unoccupied section and began her warm-up, flowing through the movements her father had taught her. A combination of ancient Earth martial arts adapted for zero-G combat and xenobiological opponents. She was midway through a particularly complex sequence when she sensed someone watching. Her body tensed imperceptibly, but she continued the form, using the movements to survey her surroundings. 4 figures stood at the edge of the training area, and even from a distance, she could feel their hostility. Maya completed her form and turned to face them, keeping her expression neutral. The group was led by a Drakari, one of the reptilian species known for their warrior culture and superiority complex. His scales were deep crimson, marking him as high caste, and his cybernetic enhancements gleamed in the artificial sunlight. His companions included 2 Chronari and another species Maya didn't recognize, something insectoid with too many legs. "So it's true," the Drakari said, his voice carrying across the training ground. "They actually let a human in." Maya said nothing, simply watching as they approached. She'd dealt with bullies before, human and otherwise. The key was not to show fear, but also not to escalate unless necessary. "I'm Jex Tharok," the Drakari announced, as if she should be impressed. "My clan has produced academy champions for 6 generations. And you are—" "Leaving," Maya replied, turning to go. One of the Chronari moved to block her path, its massive frame casting her in shadow. "Jex asked you a question, Deathworlder, and I chose not to answer it." Maya looked up at the Chronari, memorizing the position of its joints, the way its weight was distributed, the slight favor it showed to its left side. "Now move." The Chronari laughed, a sound like grinding stone. "Make me, little human." This was it. Then, the test she'd known was coming from the moment she'd applied to the academy. Maya could walk away, be labeled a coward, and spend the rest of her time here as a target. Or she could make a statement that would echo through every corridor of the station. "Is there a problem here, cadets?" The voice cut through the tension like a plasma blade. Maya turned to see an older Zaran approaching, his forearms crossed behind his back in a posture of absolute authority. This had to be Instructor Kale. His exoskeleton was scarred from countless battles, and his primary eyes were the cold black of deep space. "No problem, Instructor," Jex said smoothly. "We were just welcoming our new human classmate." Kale's secondary eyes swiveled to focus on Maya, while his primary ones remained on Jex. "Is that so? And how do you find the welcome, Cadet Rourke?" "Educational," Maya replied. Something that might have been amusement flickered across Kale's features. "I'm sure it is. Classes begin in 1 hour. I suggest you all prepare. We'll be starting with practical demonstrations today." The group dispersed quickly, but not before Jex shot Maya a look that promised this wasn't over. She watched them go, then turned to find Kale still standing there, studying her. "You handled that well," he said, "but subtlety won't always be an option here." "I know. Do you humans have a reputation, Cadet Rourke? Some of it deserved, some of it not. How you navigate that reputation will determine whether you survive here." Maya met his gaze steadily. "I don't plan on just surviving, Instructor." Kale was silent for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "We'll see. Combat Dynamics. Training Hall 7. Don't be late." He walked away, leaving Maya alone on the training ground as the artificial sun climbed higher in the holographic sky. She had 45 minutes to prepare for what was sure to be the most important class of her life. When she returned to her quarters, Tara was awake and in full panic mode, his fur standing on end as he searched frantically for his training gear. "You're up early," he exclaimed, then immediately returned to his search. "Have you seen my impact dampeners? They're these little silver discs that—" "Oh, there they are. Never mind. Are you ready for class?" "I'm not ready. I don't think anyone's ever really ready for Kale's class. Did you know he once made an entire squad of Vorgath commandos cry Vorgaths? They don't even have tear ducts." Maya helped him organize his gear while he continued his nervous chatter, finding his company oddly soothing. It was nice to have someone who didn't look at her like she was either a weapon or a victim. They made their way to Training Hall 7 together, joining the stream of first-year cadets flowing through the corridors. The hall itself was massive, its walls and floor composed of adaptive training matrix that could simulate any surface or condition. About 60 cadets were already assembled when they arrived, grouped loosely by species or previous acquaintances. Maya noticed immediately how the crowd parted around her, creating a bubble of empty space that followed her movements. Even Taro seemed to sense the shift in atmosphere, his chatter dying away as they found a spot near the middle of the group. Jex and his companions were positioned near the front, their postures radiating confidence. The Drakari caught her eye and smiled, revealing rows of sharp teeth that had been cosmetically enhanced to be even more intimidating than nature intended. "Welcome to Combat Dynamics." Kale's voice filled the hall as he entered, accompanied by 2 assistant instructors. "Some of you come from warrior cultures, some from peaceful worlds that have never known war. It doesn't matter. Here, you will all learn to fight, or you will fail." He paused, scanning the assembled cadets with all 4 eyes. Combat is not about strength alone. The strongest warrior can be felled by the weakest opponent, if that opponent understands leverage, timing, and psychology. Today, we begin with practical demonstrations. You will pair off and engage in controlled combat scenarios. The goal is not to injure, but to incapacitate. Medical staff are on standby, but I would prefer not to need them on the first day. The assistant instructors began calling out pairings, supposedly random, but Maya suspected otherwise. She wasn't surprised when she wasn't called. Neither was Jex or his 3 companions. "Cadet Rourke," Kale announced finally. "You'll demonstrate with... Let's make this interesting. Cadets Tharok, Grax, Thorn, and Quest. You may work as a team." The hall went silent. 4 against 1 was unusual, even for a demonstration, and everyone knew what this really was. "Instructor," one of the assistant instructors, a Vylorian, spoke up. "Perhaps that's excessive for a first-day demonstration." "Cadet Rourke is a Deathworlder," Kale replied, his tone suggesting the matter was settled. "I'm sure she can handle it, unless she objects." Every eye in the hall turned to Maya. This was the moment that would define her entire tenure at the academy. She could object, claim it was unfair, and be forever marked as weak. Or, "No objection. Instructor," Maya said, stepping forward into the demonstration circle that materialized in the center of the hall. Jex and his companions entered from the opposite side, spreading out to surround her. The Chronari, Grax and Thorn, were massive, each easily twice her mass. Kst, the insectoid, moved with an unnatural fluidity that suggested enhanced reflexes. And Jex himself was a trained warrior from birth, his movements economical and precise. "The rules are simple," Kale announced. "Submission, incapacitation, or leaving the circle constitutes defeat. Begin." They came at her simultaneously, a coordinated assault that would have overwhelmed most opponents. But Maya had been preparing for this moment for 3 years, studying every available combat recording, analyzing alien physiology, understanding their strengths and exploiting their weaknesses. Grax reached her first, his massive fist descending like a hammer. Maya didn't try to block it. Instead, she redirected its force, using his momentum to send him stumbling past her. In the same movement, She struck the back of his knee joint, the one she'd noticed he favored, with surgical precision. The Chronari's leg buckled, and he went down hard. Kst came from her blind spot, moving with insectoid speed. But Maya had already calculated the attack vector. She dropped low, sweeping its multiple legs with a move that shouldn't have worked, except she'd noticed how it distributed its weight across its limbs. The insectoid crashed into Thorn, who had been charging from the opposite direction. That left Jex, who had hung back, watching her movements. He came at her with calculated strikes, using his reach advantage and cybernetic enhancements. Maya let him think he was driving her back, then suddenly reversed, getting inside his guard. Her palm strike caught him in the solar plexus, or the Drakari equivalent, disrupting his breathing. As he gasped, she grabbed his arm, using a joint lock that worked on any species with a skeletal structure, and drove him to his knees. The entire exchange had taken less than 20 seconds. Maya stepped back, releasing Jex and surveying the demonstration circle. Grax was still on the ground, clutching his knee. Kst was trying to untangle itself from Thorn, who was dazed from the collision, and Jex was on his knees, gasping for breath, his crimson scales pale with shock. The training hall was absolutely silent. "Medical team," Kale said calmly, and several medics rushed into the circle. "Please escort these cadets to the medbay for evaluation." As the defeated cadets were helped from the circle, Kale turned to address the class. "What you just witnessed is why humans are classified as Deathworlders, not because of superior strength or speed, but because of adaptability and the willingness to do whatever is necessary to survive." Cadet Rourke identified weaknesses and exploited them without hesitation. This is what combat truly is, beneath all the honor and glory your cultures may attribute to it. Maya remained in the circle, controlling her breathing, aware that every cadet was staring at her with a mixture of fear, respect, and something else. Calculation, perhaps. She'd just made herself the most dangerous person in their year, and that would have consequences. "Cadet Rourke," Kale continued, "report to my office after classes. The rest of you, pair off. We have work to do." The remainder of the class passed in a blur. Maya was paired with different opponents, but none approached her with the same aggression as the first four. Word of what had happened was already spreading through the Academy's networks, and by the time classes ended for the day, she could hear whispers following her through the corridors. 4 moves, 4 in medbay. Did you see how fast she moved? Humans are insane. No wonder they survived their death world. Taro was waiting for her outside Kale's office, practically vibrating with excitement. "That was incredible. You were like swoosh and bam and they were down. I've never seen anything like it, huh?" "But are you in trouble?" "Please don't be in trouble. I just got a cool roommate. I don't want to lose you already." "I don't think I'm in trouble," Maya said, though she wasn't entirely sure. "Wait here." Taro nodded enthusiastically, settling against the wall to wait. Kale's office was Spartan, decorated only with a few weapons from different worlds, and a holographic display showing a planet Maya didn't recognize. The instructor was standing with his back to her, looking at the display. "Do you know what this is, cadet?" he asked without turning. "No, sir. It's Zaran, my homeworld, or what's left of it. It was glassed during the Second Galactic War. My people are warriors, Cadet Rourke. We live for battle, honor it above all else, but honor doesn't bring back the dead." He turned to face her, his expression unreadable. "You fight like someone who has lost everything. That makes you dangerous, but it also makes you vulnerable." Maya said nothing, waiting. "The other cadets will test you now. Some will want to prove themselves against you. Others will want you as an ally. And some—" He paused. "Some will want you removed from the Academy entirely. You've upset the balance of power among the first years. I can handle it. Perhaps. But understand this strength alone will not be enough here. You'll need allies. strategy, and the wisdom to know when not to fight. His primary eyes fixed on her with an intensity that was almost physical. Your father understood that. Maya's breath caught. You knew my father? I knew of him. Marcus Rourke was respected among those of us who value peace as much as war. His death was unfortunate. It was murder, Maya said flatly. Cale was quiet for a moment. Yes, he said finally. It was. But revenge won't bring him back either. No, but it might prevent others from suffering the same fate. Or it might perpetuate the cycle. Cale moved to his desk, pulling up a holographic file. You're here on provisional status, Cadet Rourke. Your performance today has earned you the right to continue. But there will be those who question whether a human belongs here. Prove them wrong. Yes, sir. Dismissed. Maya left the office to find Taro still waiting, now joined by several other cadets who scattered when she appeared. Only one remained, a figure she didn't recognize from their earlier classes. He was humanoid in appearance, though his skin had a subtle blue tint, and his eyes were silver without visible pupils. He was handsome in an unsettling way, too perfect, like a sculpture given life. Maya Rourke, he said, his voice carrying a strange harmonic quality. I'm Arden Vale. I wanted to congratulate you on your performance today. Thanks, Maya said carefully. Something about him setting off her instincts. It's rare to see someone handle multiple opponents so efficiently. Your training must have been extensive. I prepared. Arden smiled, and it didn't reach his eyes. I imagine you did. Perhaps we could train together sometime. I'm always looking to learn from those with unique perspectives. Perhaps, Maya said noncommittally. Wonderful. I'll be in touch. He inclined his head slightly and walked away, his movements almost too fluid to be natural. That was weird, Taro said once Arden was out of earshot. He's in our year, but I've never seen him before today. And did you notice his eyes creepy? Maya watched Arden disappear around a corner, her unease growing. There was something off about him, something that made her survival instincts scream warnings. But she filed it away for later consideration. Right now, she had more immediate concerns. News of the demonstration had spread throughout the academy by evening meal, the cafeteria, a massive hall that could accommodate thousands of different dietary requirements, fell silent when Maya entered. She collected her food, a synthesized approximation of Earth cuisine that tasted like cardboard, and found a table with Taro. So, Taro said, trying to lighten the mood as he consumed something that looked like writhing noodles. You're famous now. Or infamous. I'm not sure which. Neither is ideal, Maya replied, pushing her food around her plate. But it's something you showed them that humans aren't weak. That's what you wanted, right? Maya looked around the cafeteria, seeing the stares, the whispers, the way other cadets gave their table a wide berth. I wanted to be taken seriously. This might be something else. Before Taro could respond, a shadow fell across their table. Maya looked up to see one of the Chronari from the demonstration, Thorn, standing there with a tray. His left arm was in a medical stabilizer. Mind if I sit? He rumbled. Maya and Taro exchanged glances. Then Maya gestured to an empty chair. The Chronari sat carefully, the chair groaning under his weight. You fight well, Thorn said simply. I've never been taken down so quickly. You were off balance from the collision, Maya pointed out. Yes, because you made sure I would be. Thorn's rocky features shifted into what might have been respect. Jex is furious, of course. His pride is wounded more than his body. But I wanted you to know, not all of us share his views on Deathworlders. Good to know, Maya said carefully. Thorn nodded and focused on his meal, which appeared to be some kind of mineral supplement. The three of them ate in companionable silence, and gradually The cafeteria's attention shifted elsewhere. Later that night, as Maya lay in her bed listening to Taro's snoring, she thought about the day's events. She'd made a statement, certainly, but at what cost? She now had enemies, possible allies, and the attention of someone like Arden Vale whose motives were unclear. Her secure communicator buzzed with an incoming message. Maya activated the privacy field around her bed and opened it. The message was simple. Your father would be proud. But be careful. Not everyone at the academy is who they claim to be. Trust your instincts. A friend. There was no signature, no trace code, nothing to indicate who had sent it. Maya deleted the message and lay back, her mind racing. Someone was watching her, someone who knew about her father. But were they friend or foe? Outside her window, the artificial stars of the Death World training station continued their endless dance. And somewhere, in the vast complex, forces were already moving in response to the day's events. The human had proven herself dangerous. And in a galaxy where strength was the only universal language, that made her valuable. And valuable things, Maya knew, were always in danger. The next few days would test her in ways she couldn't yet imagine. But for now, she allowed herself a small moment of satisfaction. She'd taken the first step toward her goal, whatever the consequences might be. The game had begun. The weeks that followed were a careful dance of power and perception. Maya had expected retaliation from Jex and his faction, but it came in unexpected ways. Equipment would malfunction during training exercises. Her assigned targets in shooting practice would develop mysterious glitches. And more than once, she found her meal rations contaminated with substances that would have sent most humans to the medical bay. But Maya had trained for this. Her father had insisted she build tolerance to common toxins, and her enhanced metabolism, a gift from generations of human adaptation, processed the rest. She never reported the incidents, never showed weakness. Each failed attempt only seemed to increase the wariness with which others regarded her. It was during the fourth week that things escalated. Maya was in the advanced tactics classroom, studying holographic battle simulations with Taro, when the lights flickered and died. Emergency lighting cast the room in a deep red glow, and the door locks engaged with an ominous click. "Maintenance," Taro asked hopefully, his 4 eyes reflecting the emergency lights like rubies. Maya was already moving, pulling Taro behind an overturned desk. "Stay down!" The main door exploded inward, and 6 figures in training armor stormed in. Not Jex this time, Maya noted. These were upper-year cadets, their movements coordinated and professional. Someone had hired mercenaries from within the academy itself. "Maya Rourke," the lead figure announced, voice distorted by the helmet's modulator. "You're coming with us." "I don't think so," Maya replied, calculating angles and distances. "We're not asking." They moved as a unit, clearly trained in group tactics. Maya rolled left, avoiding the stun baton that crackled through the space she'd occupied. She came up running, using the classroom's holographic projectors as cover. The attackers spread out, trying to flank her. Maya grabbed a training stylus from a desk, its metal core making it a serviceable weapon. The first attacker rounded the corner into her improvised spear, hand strike to the throat, just below the helmet seal. They went down, choking. The second came from above, having climbed onto the desk row. Maya let them descend, then pivoted, using their momentum to drive them head first into the wall. The helmet took most of the impact, but they stayed down. 4 left. They'd learned now, approaching more cautiously. Maya backed toward the window, letting them think they were cornering her. At the last second, she grabbed the emergency fire suppressant canister, spraying foam into their visors. In the confusion, she struck precise pressure points through their armor joints, dropping 2 more. The remaining 2 hesitated, and that was their mistake. Maya flowed between them like water, striking the first in the knee to bring them to her level, then driving her elbow into the helmet release. The helmet popped off, revealing a Vylorian whose scales were already shifting to the purple of unconsciousness. The last attacker backed away, hands raised. "This isn't over, human!" "It never is," Maya agreed, watching as they collected their injured and retreated. Taro emerged from behind the desk, fur standing on end. That was attempted kidnapping. We have to report this." "No," Maya said, examining the abandoned helmet. "This was a message. They want me to know I'm being watched, tested. If I report it, I look weak, unable to handle Academy pressure. But Maya, this is serious. 6 upper years. Someone organized this." Maya turned the helmet over, finding what she was looking for. A small maker's mark on the inside. Consortium tech. Military grade, but not Academy issue. Someone with resources wants me gone. Before Taro could respond, the lights returned and the doors unlocked. Standing in the doorway was Instructor Kale, his 4 eyes taking in the scene with a single sweep. "Problem, cadets." "Training accident," Maya said smoothly. "We were practicing defensive scenarios." Kale's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. 6 training accidents. How unfortunate. Perhaps you should be more careful. Cadet Rourke. The Academy can be dangerous for those who aren't prepared. After he left, Taro turned to Maya with wide eyes. "He knows." "Of course he knows. But he's letting me handle it. This is part of the test." That night, Maya didn't return to her quarters immediately. Instead, she made her way to the observation deck, a massive transparent dome that showed the space outside the station. She needed to think, to plan. She wasn't alone. Arden Vale stood at the railing, silhouetted against the stars. "Beautiful, isn't it?" he said without turning. "All that emptiness, filled with infinite possibilities." "Or infinite threats," Maya countered, joining him at the railing but maintaining distance. "Perspective, I suppose." Arden turned to her, his silver eyes catching the starlight. "I heard you had some excitement today." "News travels fast." "Everything travels fast here. It's a closed system, after all." He paused, studying her. "You're making quite an impression. Maya Rourke. Some see you as a symbol of human potential. Others see you as a disruption to the natural order." "And what do you see?" Arden smiled that unsettling smile. "I see someone playing a game without knowing all the rules. That's dangerous." "Are you threatening me?" "Warning you. There's a difference." He moved closer, and Maya tensed. "You think this is about prejudice against humans, but it's bigger than that. There are forces at work here that go beyond simple xenophobia. Such as, have you wondered why the Academy accepted you at all? Why now, after years of excluding Deathworlders? What changed?" Maya had wondered, but she wasn't about to admit it to him. "Politics change." "Or someone wanted you here specifically." Arden pulled out a small device, projecting a hologram between them. It showed a man in military uniform, older, scarred but proud. Maya's breath caught. It was her father, but from years ago, before she was born. "Marcus Rourke," Arden said softly. "Hero of the siege of Chrono Station. Saved 300 lives, including that of a young Zeran warrior named Kale." Maya's mind raced. Kale had known her father personally, not just by reputation. "But that's not the interesting part," Arden continued. "The interesting part is what happened after. Your father was recruited for a special program, studying human adaptability and combat potential. The research was supposed to help integrate humans into galactic society. The program was shut down when certain parties realized what humans were truly capable of. Your father opposed the shutdown, said the research could be used for peace. Others wanted it for war." Arden's expression was unreadable. "He died before the debate was resolved. He was killed in the Meridian conflict. Random crossfire. There was nothing random about it. The transport ship was targeted specifically. Someone wanted your father dead and the research buried. Maya's hands clenched into fists. Who? That's the question, isn't it? Arden deactivated the hologram. Why do you think you're really here, Maya? You're not just a cadet. You're a live demonstration of human capability. Every move you make, every fight you win, someone is watching, evaluating. You seem to know a lot about this. I make it my business to know things. He turned to leave, then paused. Be careful who you trust, Maya. Even those who seem like allies might have their own agendas. After he left, Maya remained at the observation deck for a long time, processing what she'd learned. If Arden was telling the truth, and her instincts said he was at least partially honest, then her presence here was no accident. Someone had orchestrated her acceptance. But why? The next morning brought new challenges. The Academy had announced a special training exercise survival scenarios on the station's hazard simulation deck. Teams of 4 would be randomly assigned and made to survive progressively dangerous environments. Maya found herself grouped with Taro, which was fortunate, but also with Grax, the Chronari from the first day's demonstration, and surprisingly, Arden Vale. Interesting team composition, Arden mused as they suited up in environmental gear. Grax grunted, still favoring his recently healed knee. As long as the human doesn't try to cripple me again, we should be fine. That was a demonstration, Maya said. This is cooperation. We'll see, Grax rumbled, but there was less hostility in his tone than before. The first scenario was a frozen wasteland, temperatures dropping to lethal levels within minutes. Taro's fur provided natural insulation, and Grax's rocky hide was resistant to cold. But Maya and Arden had to rely on their suits and cunning. There, Maya pointed to a formation of ice crystals. Natural cave system. We can use it for shelter. They moved as a group, Maya taking point with her superior low-light vision. The cave system was a maze of frozen tunnels, and something about it felt wrong. Stop, Arden said suddenly. Listen. There was a sound, rhythmic and mechanical, coming from deeper in the caves. That's not part of the simulation, Taro whispered, his fur bristling. Maya made a decision. Grax, you and Taro set up a defensive position here. Arden and I will scout ahead. Why should we trust you? Grax challenged. Because if I wanted you dead, you'd already be dead, Maya replied matter-of-factly. They crept deeper into the cave system, the mechanical sound growing louder. Around a bend, they discovered its source, a maintenance tunnel that shouldn't exist in a simulation. Through the transparent aluminum window, they could see technicians working on something that looked like military-grade equipment. Recording devices, Arden identified. And that's bioelectric monitoring equipment. Someone's collecting data on the cadets. The question is who and why, Maya murmured, using her suit's camera to document everything. A hand fell on her shoulder, and she reacted instantly, pivoting to strike. Arden caught her wrist with surprising strength. Wait, he whispered urgently. We need to leave. Now. The mechanical sound had stopped. The technicians had noticed something. They ran, Maya and Arden moving in perfect synchronization despite having never trained together. Behind them, they heard shouts and the sound of pursuit. They burst back into the main cave to find Grax and Taro in combat positions. Move, Maya shouted. Exercise is compromised. They fled through the frozen wasteland, the environmental hazards now the least of their concerns. Behind them, the pursuit seemed to have stopped, but Maya knew this was far from over. Back in the staging area, they were met by Instructor Kale and several Academy security officers. Report, Kale demanded. Maya made a split-second decision. Equipment malfunction in the cave system, sir. We evacuated as per safety protocols. Kale's eyes narrowed, but he nodded. Dismissed. Medical bay for evaluation. As they walked away, Grax fell into step beside Maya. You lied to protect whoever was in those caves. I lied to protect us. Maya corrected. Until we know who's involved, trust no one. Including me, Arden asked with that mysterious smile. Especially you. That evening, Maya was summoned to Kale's office again. This time, he wasn't alone. A figure stood in the shadows, obscured, but somehow familiar. Cadet Rourke, Kale began. What you discovered today confirms suspicions we've had for some time. There are elements within the Academy conducting unauthorized research. Research on Deathworlders, the figure in the shadows added, stepping forward. Maya gasped. It was a human woman, older, scarred, wearing the insignia of a Special Operations Commander. Commander Sarah Cross, the woman introduced herself. I knew your father. Maya's world tilted. Another piece of the puzzle, but the picture was still unclear. We've been monitoring the situation, Cross continued. Someone is using the Academy as a testing ground, pushing human cadets to their limits to gather data. We believe it's connected to your father's research. The research that got him killed, Maya said flatly. Yes, Cross's expression was grim. We need your help, cadet. You're already in the center of this web. Will you help us uncover the truth? Maya looked between Kale and Cross. What would my father do? He'd want to know the truth, Kale said softly. But he'd also want you safe. Safety is an illusion here, Maya replied. I'm in. Cross nodded. Then we begin. But understand, from this moment forward, you're not just a cadet. You're an operative. Everything you do, everyone you interact with, could be part of a larger game. I understand. But as Maya left the office, she wondered if she truly did. The attack by the upper years, Arden's mysterious knowledge, the hidden research facility. It was all connected. And at the center of it all was her father's legacy and the question of what humans were truly capable of. The simulation exercise continued the next day with a new scenario, a jungle environment with predatory creatures and toxic plants. Maya's team had changed. Taro was still with her, but Grax had been replaced by Thorn, and Arden by a nervous Vylorian named Sisk. Stay together, Maya instructed as they entered the steaming jungle. Watch for movement in the canopy. They'd barely gone 50 meters when the first attack came. Not from the simulation, but from other cadets. Jex and a new group materialized from the foliage, armed with training weapons that looked suspiciously modified. Round 2, human, Jex hissed, his scales shifting to combat coloration. You really don't learn, do you? Maya sighed. The fight was brutal and quick. Jex had learned from their first encounter, but so had Maya. She used the environment to her advantage, causing Jex to stumble into a patch of simulated toxic plants. His screams as the toxin overwhelmed his system were cut short by the medical emergency teleport. His companions fared no better. Thorn, no longer an enemy, fought beside Maya with surprising loyalty. Even Sisk, nervous as he was, managed to entangle 2 attackers in a web of local vines using his species' natural secretions. When the dust settled, 7 cadets had been emergency evacuated, and Maya's team stood victorious, but battered. This is escalating, Taro said, his usual cheerfulness dampened. Someone really wants you gone, Maya. Let them try, Thorn rumbled, surprising everyone. You saved Jex's life that first day, even after defeating him. That shows honor. I stand with you, human. Sisk nodded nervously. The Vylorian Council will hear of these unprovoked attacks. This is not acceptable behavior. Maya felt something shift in that moment. She wasn't alone anymore. She had allies, real ones, not just assigned by mysterious forces. That night, she found another encrypted message on her communicator. The board is set. The pieces are moving. Your father's work must not be lost. Trust the Silver Eyes when the darkness comes. Silver Eyes, Arden. Maya deleted the message and lay back, thinking. Everyone had an agenda, but perhaps some of those agendas aligned with hers. The truth about her father's death was here, somewhere in this web of conspiracy and conflict. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight, she allowed herself a moment of grim satisfaction. She'd survived another day, gained new allies, and moved closer to her goal. The revenge she sought was no longer simple. It had become something larger, a fight for the future of human integration into galactic society. Her father had believed in peaceful coexistence. His killers had believed in suppression or exploitation. Maya would forge a third path, one written in strength and earned respect. The game was indeed in motion, but Maya was no longer just a piece on the board. She was becoming a player. The next few weeks passed in a blur of training, secret investigations, and growing tension. Maya had become something of a legend among the first years, the human who couldn't be broken. But with that reputation came isolation. Most cadets gave her a wide berth, unsure whether she was protector or predator. It was during a late-night study session in the archives that everything began to unravel. Maya was researching historical conflicts involving Deathworlders when she noticed someone had been accessing the same files recently. The digital fingerprints were cleverly hidden, but her father had taught her to look for patterns others missed. "Finding anything interesting?" Arden's voice came from behind her. Maya didn't flinch, though he'd approached silently. "You've been researching the Theta contingency. As have you, apparently." Arden moved to sit across from her, his silver eyes reflecting the holographic displays. "Do you know what it was?" "A theoretical framework for integrating Deathworlder military assets into the galactic peacekeeping forces," Maya recited. "Proposed 20 years ago, rejected by the Council. Rejected because they feared what would happen if Deathworlders ever united," Arden corrected. "Your father wasn't just studying human combat capability. Maya, he was developing protocols for teaching other Deathworlder species to fight like humans do." Maya's blood ran cold. "That's impossible. Each Deathworld species evolved differently. But the mindset is the same. Adaptation, survival, the willingness to do whatever it takes. Your father believed that was teachable." Arden pulled up a restricted file, his clearance code somehow bypassing the security. "Look." The file showed training footage from 20 years ago. Her father, younger but unmistakable, was teaching a mixed group of aliens combat techniques. But these weren't just any aliens. They were from other Deathworlds. A Krillian with its razor-sharp exoskeleton, a Voidwalker with its ability to phase through matter, and others Maya recognized from banned species lists. "This is what got him killed," Maya whispered. "This is what someone is trying to recreate," Arden corrected. "Using you as proof of concept." Before Maya could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Not drill alarms, but the deep, resonant tone of a real emergency. "All cadets report to designated safe zones," the automated voice announced. "This is not a drill. Hostile forces have breached the station's perimeter." Maya and Arden exchanged glances, then moved together toward the door. The corridor was chaos, cadets running in all directions, some panicking, others trying to maintain formation. "Maya." Taro's voice cut through the noise. He bounded toward them, fur standing on end. "Something's wrong. The instructors, they're not responding to comms." "Where's Kale?" Maya demanded. "Last seen heading to the command center, but that was before the alarms." Maya made a quick decision. Safe zones are a trap. Think about it. Gather all the cadets in designated areas. "Perfect for containment or elimination," Arden agreed. An explosion rocked the station, and the lights flickered. When they steadied, figures in black combat armor were advancing down the corridor, weapons raised. Not Academy security. These were professionals. "Run!" Maya shouted, pushing Taro behind her. They sprinted through the station's maze-like corridors, Maya's memory of the layout guiding them. Behind them, the sound of pursuit grew closer. They rounded a corner and nearly collided with Thorn and a group of other cadets, including Surprisingly, Jex. Human, Jex snarled, but there was fear in his eyes. What's happening? Invasion, Maya said shortly. Real one. We need to get to the armory. The armory is restricted to cadets, Thorne pointed out. Would you rather die following rules or live breaking them? The group followed Maya, their previous conflicts forgotten in the face of real danger. The armory was 3 levels down, and every level brought new challenges. They encountered pockets of resistance, instructors and senior cadets fighting desperately against the invaders, but being overwhelmed by superior numbers and equipment. Maya led them through maintenance tunnels and emergency shafts, paths she'd memorized during her secret investigations. They reached the armory to find it already breached, but the invaders had moved on, leaving it unguarded. Grab everything you can carry, Maya ordered, pulling on tactical armor and selecting weapons. Energy weapons for range, kinetic for reliability. You've done this before, Jex observed, watching her efficient movements. My father taught me to be prepared for anything, Maya replied, checking the charge on a plasma rifle. Arden was at a terminal, his fingers flying over the holographic interface. I've got partial access to security feeds. The invaders are systematically capturing specific targets, all Deathworlder cadets, certain instructors, and they're heading for the research labs. Commander Cross, Maya realized. They're after the investigation. Who's Commander Cross? Jex demanded. Someone who might be our only chance of getting out of this alive, Maya said. We need to reach her. The journey to Kale's office, where Cross had been operating from, was a running battle. Maya's group, now grown to about 20 cadets of various species, moved with surprising coordination. Their training, despite being incomplete, kicked in when it mattered. Maya took point, her smaller size allowing her to scout ahead. She neutralized sentries with quiet efficiency, her father's lessons in stealth serving her well. Behind her, Arden provided electronic warfare, jamming enemy communications. Taro, despite his peaceful nature, proved surprisingly effective at setting ambushes with his species' natural agility. Even Jex, who had been her enemy just weeks before, fought beside her with professional competence. A shared enemy had a way of clarifying priorities. They found Kale's office in ruins, signs of a fierce battle everywhere. Kale himself was slumped against a wall, green blood seeping from multiple wounds. Commander Cross was nowhere to be seen. Instructor. Maya rushed to his side, pulling out the emergency medical kit from her armor. Kale's primary eyes focused on her with difficulty. Cadet. Rourke. They took Cross. The research. Who are they? Maya pressed, applying battlefield sealant to the worst of his wounds. Genesis Coalition, Kale gasped. Extremists who believe Deathworlders are the next evolution, want to create an army. Where would they take her? Main lab. Section 5. But Maya. Kale gripped her arm with surprising strength. Your father's final project. It's there, hidden in the quantum storage. Authorization is your genetic code. My genetic code. He knew. This day might come. Prepared. Contingency. Kyle's grip loosened as the medical nanobots began their work. Go. Stop them. Show them what humans truly are. Maya stood, facing the assembled cadets. This isn't our fight anymore. Anyone who wants to find a safe place to hide, go now. No judgment. No one moved. We're with you, human, Thorne rumbled. All the way, Taro added, trying to sound brave despite his trembling. Even Jex nodded. You saved my life in that jungle, even after everything. I owe you a debt. Maya felt something she hadn't expected: the weight of leadership. These cadets were looking to her, trusting her. She couldn't fail them. All right. Arden, can you get us a path to Section 5 that avoids their main force? Arden's fingers danced over his portable interface. There's a maintenance route through the Zero-G training area. It'll be dangerous, but less dangerous than the direct route. They moved out, leaving a small group to guard and evacuate Kale once he stabilized. The Zero-G area was eerily quiet, the normal hum of gravity generators absent. Maya activated her mag boots, the others following suit. They were halfway across when the trap was sprung. Invaders appeared from concealed positions, their armor allowing them to move freely in the zero gravity. The battle that followed was three-dimensional chaos. Maya pushed off from walls and ceiling, using the environment to her advantage. In Zero-G, mass meant nothing. Speed and angle were everything. She watched Taro spinning helplessly after a missed attack and kicked off a wall to reach him, using her momentum to send an attacker tumbling into the void. Jex had adapted quickly, using his tail as an additional anchor point to devastating effect. But it was Arden who surprised her most. He moved through the Zero-G environment like he was born to it, his strikes precise and economical. When their eyes met across the battlefield, she saw something in those silver depths that made her realize he was far more than he appeared. They lost 3 cadets in the crossing, their emergency teleports activating as their suits registered critical damage. Maya felt each loss, like a physical blow. But she couldn't stop, couldn't mourn. Not yet. Section 5 was a fortress. The Genesis Coalition had established a strong defensive position, with automated turrets and shield generators, creating an almost impenetrable barrier. "We can't breach that," Jex said, his earlier bravado gone. "Not directly," Maya agreed. She turned to Arden. "You're not really a cadet, are you?" Arden smiled that mysterious smile. "What gave it away?" "Everything. You're too skilled, too knowledgeable. Intelligence operative? Something like that. My mission was to protect you, though you've made that remarkably difficult. Can you get us in? Give me 10 minutes and a distraction." Maya organized the cadets into assault teams. "We're not trying to win. We're trying to keep them busy. Hit and run. Make them think we're a larger force. Taro, you're with me. Jex, Thorn, you take the others and hit from the opposite side." The next 10 minutes were the longest of Maya's life. They harassed the Coalition's defenses, losing more cadets to emergency teleports but keeping the enemy focused on external threats. She saw Arden moving along the periphery, his form sometimes seeming to shimmer and fade. Then the shields fell. "Now!" Maya shouted, leading the charge. The battle inside Section 5 was brutal and personal. The Coalition forces were well-trained, but they hadn't expected the fury of cornered Deathworlder cadets. Maya fought with a cold precision that would have made her father proud, every movement calculated to disable or eliminate threats. She found Commander Cross in the main lab, secured to an examination table with energy restraints. Around her, scientists were downloading data from the Academy's quantum storage. "Stop!" Maya raised her weapon. But the lead scientist, a Thulorian with cybernetic enhancements, just laughed. "You're too late, little human. We have everything. Your father's research, the combat protocols, even the psychological conditioning techniques. The galaxy will tremble before the armies we create." "You're forgetting something," Maya said, moving closer. "What's that?" "My father didn't just hide his research, he protected it." Maya pressed her hand against the quantum storage interface. It scanned her genetic code, and suddenly, alarms began blaring. Not station alarms, but something deeper, more fundamental. "What did you do?" the Thulorian demanded. "Activated my father's final contingency. Every piece of data you've downloaded now has a quantum virus embedded in it. Try to access it, and it'll destroy not just the data, but any system it's connected to." "You're bluffing." "Am I?" Maya smiled coldly. "My father knew someone would eventually try to weaponize his research, so he made sure that only someone with the right intentions could use it. Someone who understood that strength without wisdom is just destruction. The Thulorian reached for his weapon, but Arden appeared behind him like a ghost, his hand striking a precise nerve cluster. The scientist crumpled. Around them, the battle was winding down. Academy security forces, finally mobilized, were flooding the section. The Coalition forces were surrendering or fleeing. Maya freed Commander Cross, who looked at her with something like pride. "Your father would be impressed." "It's not over," Maya said. "They still have sympathizers in the Academy, people who wanted this research militarized." "No," Cross agreed. "But today, you've shown that humans can be more than weapons. You've shown we can be protectors." In the aftermath, as medical teams treated the wounded and security processed the prisoners, Maya found herself standing with her unlikely alliance of cadets. They were battered, exhausted, but alive. "So," Jack said, his tone carefully neutral, "I suppose I owe you an apology." "Several, actually," Maya replied, but there was no heat in it. "I misjudged you. Humans. I thought you were just savage fighters. But you—" He paused, searching for words. "You fought to protect everyone, even those who were your enemies." "That's what my father believed in," Maya said. "Strength used to defend, not destroy." Thorne clasped her shoulder with his massive hand. "You have earned my respect, Maya Rourke, and my friendship. If you'll have it." "Mine too," Taro added, bouncing despite his injuries. "Though I already liked you. But now I really like you. That was amazing. Terrifying but amazing." Even Arden approached, his silver eyes warm for once. "Your father would be proud. You didn't just save the station. You saved his legacy." "Who are you really?" Maya asked him quietly. "Someone who owes your father a debt," Arden replied. "He saved my world once, using those same principles you demonstrated today. I was assigned to protect you, but I think you've proven you don't need protection." "Everyone needs allies," Maya corrected. Later, in Kale's medical room, the instructor looked at her with all four eyes. "You did well, cadet. Better than well. You've proven that humans belong here, not as weapons, but as warriors in the truest sense." "There's still the matter of the sympathizers," Maya pointed out. "Commander Cross and I will handle that. Your job is to continue your training, to become the officer your father knew you could be. And the research, secured and classified at the highest levels. It will be studied carefully, with proper oversight. The goal remains peace, not war." Maya nodded, but she knew this was far from over. The Genesis Coalition was just one group that wanted to exploit Deathworlder capabilities. There would be others. As she walked back to her quarters, she found a crowd of cadets waiting, not just her friends, but dozens of others, from all species and sections. Cadet Rourke, one of them, a senior cadet she didn't recognize, stepped forward. "We wanted to thank you. You could have run, could have saved yourself, but you stayed and fought for all of us." "We all fought," Maya said, uncomfortable with the attention. "But you led," the senior said, "and we'd follow you again." The crowd dispersed slowly, many nodding respectfully as they passed. Maya felt the weight of their expectations, but also something else, acceptance. She was no longer the outsider, the dangerous Deathworlder to be feared and isolated. In their quarters, Taro was already retelling the day's events to anyone who would listen, his version growing more dramatic with each telling. Maya smiled, letting him have his moment. She pulled out her communicator and found a message waiting. No signature, but she recognized the style. "Your father's dream lives on. The truth is not revenge, but justice. Continue his work." Maya deleted the message and lay back on her bed. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new tests. The Academy would investigate how the Coalition had penetrated their defenses, and Maya suspected the answers would implicate people in high positions. But tonight, She allowed herself a moment of peace. She'd protected her father's legacy, earned the respect of her peers, and perhaps most importantly, begun to understand what he'd really been fighting for. Not human dominance, but human integration. Not fear, but respect. Not revenge, but justice. The stars outside her window continued their eternal dance, and somewhere among them were other Deathworlders, other humans, waiting to see if they too could find their place in the galaxy. The weeks following the Genesis Coalition attack transformed the Academy in ways both subtle and profound. Security measures tripled. Background checks on all personnel went back decades. And most significantly, the treatment of Deathworlder cadets shifted from barely concealed hostility to cautious respect. Maya found herself at the center of this change, a position she neither sought nor enjoyed. "You've become a symbol," Commander Cross told her during one of their clandestine meetings in the recovered research lab. "Whether you wanted it or not." "Symbols make good targets," Maya replied, studying the holographic displays showing her father's decoded research. "I'd rather be invisible." "Too late for that." Cross pulled up a newsfeed from the galactic networks. "The story of a human cadet leading the defense of the Academy has spread. Some outlets are calling you the Deathworld Defender. Others are less flattering." Maya grimaced at the sensationalist headlines. "This isn't what my father would have wanted." "Your father understood that change requires catalysts. You've become one." Cross deactivated the display. "Which brings us to our next problem." "There's always a next problem." The Academy's Board of Directors is convening an emergency session. They're debating whether to expel all Deathworlder cadets as a security risk. Maya's hands clenched. "After we save the station." Politics doesn't care about heroics. Several board members have ties to organizations that would profit from Deathworlder militarization. If they can't control you, they'd rather eliminate you. "When's the hearing?" 3 days. Kale will speak on your behalf, as will I. But Maya, there's something else. The board has requested a demonstration. Of what? Human capability under stress. They want to see if you're an anomaly, or if humans in general possess the qualities you've displayed. Maya stood, pacing to the window. "They want me to perform like a trained animal." "They want you to prove that humans can be trusted with power," Cross corrected. "I know it's insulting, but—" "I'll do it," Maya interrupted, "but on my terms." The night before the hearing, Maya couldn't sleep. She found herself in the observation deck again, but this time she wasn't alone. Jex, Thorn, Taro, and surprisingly, several dozen other cadets were there. "Couldn't sleep either?" Taro asked, his fur dimmed with worry. "The whole station knows about tomorrow," Jex said. "If you fail, every Deathworlder in the Academy gets expelled." "No pressure," Maya said dryly. "We want to help," Thorn rumbled. "Tell us what you need." Maya looked at the assembled cadets, representatives from dozens of species, all looking at her with trust she wasn't sure she deserved. "Why do you care? Most of you aren't Deathworlders." "Because what they're doing to you is wrong." A Vylorian cadet she didn't recognize spoke up. "Today, it's Deathworlders. Tomorrow it could be any of us who don't fit their ideal. Plus, you saved our lives," another added. "We don't forget that." Arden emerged from the shadows, as was his habit. "They're right. This is bigger than just Deathworlders. It's about what kind of galaxy we want to live in." Maya felt something shift inside her, a warmth she hadn't experienced since her father's death. These weren't just allies. They were friends. "All right," she said. "Here's what we're going to do." The board of directors convened in the Academy's Grand Assembly Hall, a massive space designed to accommodate beings of all sizes and atmospheric requirements. 12 directors sat in judgment, representing the major galactic powers. Maya recognized Director Nalith, a Thalorian known for his anti-Deathworlder stance, and Director Crix, a Drakari whose family had significant military contracts. The gallery was packed with cadets, instructors, and media representatives. The entire galaxy was watching. "Cadet Maya Rourke," Director Naleth began, his voice dripping with false courtesy. "You stand before us to demonstrate whether humanity, and by extension, all Deathworlders, can be trusted within our military institutions." "I understand, Director," Maya replied, standing at attention. "The parameters are simple," Director Crix added. "You will face a series of escalating challenges designed to test your combat abilities, decision-making, and most importantly, your control. Any excessive violence or loss of emotional regulation will be grounds for immediate expulsion of all Deathworlder cadets." "What are the challenges?" Kale asked from his position as Maya's advocate. "That would defeat the purpose." Naleth smiled coldly. "The cadet must demonstrate adaptability." Maya stepped into the demonstration arena, a configurable space similar to their training halls, but more advanced. The first challenge materialized immediately: 6 combat drones, military grade. Not the training versions she was used to. They attacked simultaneously, their movements perfectly coordinated. Maya didn't hesitate. She rolled under the first drone's plasma fire, came up running, and used one drone's bulk as a shield against another's attack. The key to fighting multiple automated opponents was to make them interfere with each other's targeting solutions. She disabled them, one by one, using minimal force, targeting their sensor arrays and mobility systems, rather than destroying them outright. The board wanted to see control. She'd give them control. "Efficient," Director Crix commented. "But drones don't bleed. Don't beg for mercy." The arena shifted, and Maya found herself facing live opponents. 6 professional security contractors, all volunteers, all briefed that this was full contact with medical support standing by. This was the real test. Could she defend herself without killing, without giving in to the survival instincts that made humans dangerous? The contractors were good, coordinated, and motivated by the substantial payment the board had undoubtedly offered. Maya had to work harder this time, taking hits that would leave bruises even through her armor. But she maintained control, using joint locks, pressure points, and calculated strikes to incapacitate without permanent damage. When the last contractor was teleported to medical, Maya stood breathing hard but unbroken. "Impressive," Naleth admitted grudgingly. "But combat isn't just about physical prowess. Activate Scenario 3. The arena changed again, becoming a detailed simulation of a colony under attack. Civilians of various species ran in panic as hostile forces advanced. Maya's objective appeared on her HUD: protect the evacuation while neutralizing threats. This was psychological warfare. The board wanted to see if she would prioritize human-looking civilians over aliens, if she would use excessive force when innocents were threatened. Maya moved through the scenario with clinical precision, making hard choices. She couldn't save everyone. The scenario was designed to be impossible, but she prioritized based on tactical reality, not species. She protected a group of Vylorian children while letting human-looking combatants fall back. She used herself as bait to draw fire away from a medical transport, carrying injured of all species. When the scenario ended, she had saved 60% of the civilians, above the expected parameters. But she could feel the weight of the 40% she hadn't saved, even knowing they were simulations. "One final test," Director Naleth announced, and Maya heard something in his voice that set her on edge. "A real challenge this time." The arena floor opened, and a figure rose from below. Maya's blood went cold. It was a void beast, one of the most dangerous predators in known space. They were supposed to be extinct. "That's illegal," Kale roared from the gallery. "Void beasts are classified as extinction-level threats." "It's a juvenile," Naleth said dismissively. "Perfectly manageable for someone of Cadet Rourke's supposed abilities." Maya stared at the creature, all shadow and teeth in impossible angles. Even a juvenile could tear through hull plating. This wasn't a test. It was an execution. The void beast moved, and Maya barely dodged, its claws leaving gouges in the floor where she'd been standing. She couldn't fight this thing conventionally. She needed to think like a human, use the one advantage her species had always relied on: intelligence and adaptability. The arena still had elements from the previous scenarios: disabled drones, abandoned equipment, environmental hazards. Maya ran, not from fear, but with purpose, leading the creature through a gauntlet of her own design. She used the drone's still active power cores as improvised explosives, hurting the beast. She triggered environmental controls, alternating gravity and atmosphere to disorient it. And when it finally cornered her, she did the unexpected. She didn't fight. She stood perfectly still, meeting its void black eyes, and spoke in the subsonic frequencies she'd learned void beasts used for communication. It was a gamble based on xenobiology studies she'd done in preparation for exactly this kind of test. The beast paused, tilted its head, and then, miraculously, stepped back. "Impossible," Nalith breathed. "No," Maya said, still maintaining eye contact with the creature. "Just human. We don't always solve problems with violence. Sometimes we use empathy, understanding. This juvenile is scared, confused. It's not a monster. It's a living being that doesn't belong here." She turned to the board, her voice carrying across the silent hall. "You wanted to see what humans are capable of. This is it. We adapt. We survive. But more than that, we recognize that strength without wisdom is meaningless. My father understood that. He died believing it, and I've proven it today." The void beast, responding to her calm, actually moved to stand beside her, a gesture that sent ripples of shock through the assembly. "The demonstration is concluded," Director Crix announced, his voice shaken. "We will deliberate." Maya was escorted from the arena, the void beast being carefully contained by specialists who seemed amazed it hadn't killed anyone. In the waiting area, she was immediately surrounded by her friends. "That was insane," Taro exclaimed. "You tamed a void beast? Nobody tames void beasts." "I didn't tame it," Maya corrected. "I communicated with it. There's a difference." Arden studied her with those silver eyes. "You knew they would escalate. You prepared for this." "I prepared for worse," Maya admitted. "My father always said that humans' greatest strength was expecting the unexpected and having a plan anyway." Commander Cross approached, her expression grim. "That was either the bravest or stupidest thing I've ever seen." "Probably both," Maya agreed. They waited 3 hours before being called back. The assembly hall was even more packed, if that was possible. The board sat in judgment, their expressions unreadable. Director Nalith stood. "After extensive deliberation, the board has reached a decision. The demonstration has shown that humans, and by extension, Deathworlders, possess both the capability and the control necessary for military service." Relief flooded through Maya, but Nalith wasn't finished. "However, we cannot ignore the security risks. Therefore, all Deathworlder cadets will be subject to additional psychological evaluations and must maintain higher performance standards than baseline cadets." "That's discrimination," Kale protested. "That's compromise," Director Crix interjected. "Would you prefer expulsion?" Maya stepped forward. "We accept the terms." "Furthermore," Nalith continued, "Cadet Rourke will be assigned to a special unit under direct board oversight. Your actions will reflect on all Deathworlders in the Academy." It was a leash, Maya realized. They couldn't eliminate her after her public display, but they could control her. "Understood," she said. As the assembly dispersed, Maya found herself surrounded by celebrating cadets. They'd won, technically, but she could see in Cross's and Kale's expressions that this was far from over. That night, there was an impromptu celebration in the cadet quarters. Someone had procured Fusion Prime celebration spirits, which glowed and sparked when consumed. Maya nursed a single drink, watching her friends celebrate. "You don't look happy," Arden observed, appearing beside her. "We didn't win. We just survived another day." "Sometimes that's the same thing." He paused. "Your father would be proud. You didn't just fight for humans. You fought for all Deathworlders." "There's still something wrong," Maya said. "The Genesis Coalition, the board's test, it's all connected somehow. Someone wants Deathworlders weaponized, and they're using me as a prototype." "Then we stop them," Jex said, having overheard. The Drakari had changed significantly since their first encounter, his arrogance replaced by genuine respect. "You saved us all during the attack. We stand with you." "All of us," Thorn added, and Maya saw nods from cadets throughout the room. Later that night, alone, finally, Maya accessed her father's hidden files, using her genetic code. There was more here than just combat techniques and integration protocols. There were names, dates, a conspiracy that went to the highest levels of galactic government. A soft chime indicated an incoming message. Maya activated her privacy field and opened it. It was from her father, a message recorded years ago, triggered by her accessing these specific files. His holographic image appeared, smaller than she remembered, older than he'd been when he died. "Maya," his recorded voice said, and she had to blink back tears. "If you're seeing this, it means I'm gone and you've uncovered the truth. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I tried to protect you from this, but I always knew you were too much like me to stay away. The Genesis Coalition, the military contractors, even elements within the Academy, they're all part of something larger. They call themselves the Evolution Syndicate. They believe that conventional species have reached their limits, that only Deathworlders can face the threats coming from beyond our galaxy. They're not entirely wrong. There are things in the dark between galaxies, things that make void beasts look tame. But their solution, turning Deathworlders into weapons, into conquerors, that's not the answer. You have a choice now, Maya. You can use what I've left you to become the weapon they want, or you can forge a different path. Unite the Deathworlders not as conquerors, but as protectors. Show the galaxy that strength and compassion aren't mutually exclusive. I believe in you, sweetheart. I always have. The coordinates embedded in this message will lead you to others who share our vision. Trust carefully, but trust nonetheless. Remember, humans are special, not because we're the strongest or the smartest, but because we never give up on the possibility of a better tomorrow. I love you, Maya, always. The message ended, leaving Maya alone with the weight of her father's legacy and the coordinates burning in her mind. She had a choice to make, a path to choose. Outside, the artificial dawn was breaking over the academy. In a few hours, she would begin her special unit training, under the board's watchful eye. But now she knew it was all a smokescreen. The real battle was just beginning. A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. It was Taro, looking uncharacteristically serious. Maya, there's something you need to see. Arden found something in the deep archives. Something about your father and Instructor Kale. It changes everything. Maya followed him through the quiet corridors to a secured study room, where Arden, Jex, Thorn, and surprisingly, Instructor Kale waited. Kale was still recovering from his injuries, but had insisted on being present. Show her, Kyle said simply. Arden activated a holographic display showing military records from 25 years ago. Your father and Kale didn't just serve together. They were part of a secret unit called the Guardians, comprised entirely of beings who had survived extinction-level events. Your father was the only human. The images showed a younger Marcus Rourke, standing alongside Kale and others, all wearing the same insignia, a phoenix rising from ashes. The Guardians were disbanded after they refused orders to glass a planet suspected of harboring Deathworlder rebels. Kale continued. Your father was the one who convinced us to refuse. He said genocide was never the answer, no matter the threat. They killed him for it, Maya said, understanding flooding through her. Eventually, yes. But first, they tried to use him, to extract his methods for training Deathworlders. When he refused, when he hid his research, Kale trailed off. They made an example of him, Maya finished. The Evolution Syndicate has been planning this for decades, Arden added. Your acceptance to the Academy, the attacks, the tests. It's all been orchestrated to push you into revealing your father's complete research. But I destroyed it, Maya protested. The quantum virus destroyed the copies, Arden corrected. But the original is still in your genetic code. Your father encoded his complete research into your DNA. You're not just his daughter, Maya. You're a living library of everything he learned about Deathworlder potential. Maya sat down heavily, the weight of revelation crushing. That's why everyone wants me. I'm the key to their army. Or the key to preventing it, Kale said. Your father believed in choice. Maya, the information in your genetic code could create an army of Deathworlder weapons, or it could create a force for protection and peace. The choice is yours. How do I access it? That's the brilliant part, Arden said with admiration. It only unlocks under specific conditions. Extreme stress combined with a conscious choice to protect rather than destroy. Your father ensured that only someone with the right intentions could access his legacy. The Void Beast, Maya realized. When I chose communication over violence, you partially unlocked it, Arden confirmed. But the full activation requires something more. A moment of absolute truth, where you must choose between revenge and justice, between personal satisfaction and the greater good. Maya stood, pacing to the window. Outside, the Academy continued its daily routine, unaware of the conspiracy within its walls. They'll come for me, she said. The Evolution Syndicate. Once they know what I carry. They already know, Kale interrupted. Why do you think the board approved your continued enrollment? They need you here, where they can watch you, manipulate you. Then we stop them, Jex said firmly. Whatever it takes. It's not your fight, Maya told him. You made it our fight when you saved us, Thorn rumbled. We don't abandon our own. Our own, Maya repeated, looking at the assembled group. A human, a Zoran, a Drakari, a Kronari, a Fuzion, and whatever Arden really was. It was exactly what her father had envisioned, different species united, not by force, but by choice. All right, she decided. We do this together, but we do it my way. No unnecessary violence, no revenge. We expose the Syndicate, protect the innocent, and show the galaxy that Deathworlders can be its greatest defenders, not its conquerors. That's a tall order, Arden observed. Good thing humans never give up on the possibility of a better tomorrow, Maya replied, echoing her father's words. As the others began planning their next moves, Maya felt a strange sensation, a warmth spreading through her body. The partial unlock of her father's research was integrating with her consciousness, showing her possibilities she'd never imagined. Combat techniques that could disable without killing, psychological profiles that could predict and prevent violence, integration protocols that could unite disparate species in common cause. Her father hadn't just been developing weapons. He'd been developing peace. The door burst open, and Commander Cross rushed in, her expression urgent. We have a problem. The board just authorized a new program, mandatory combat trials between Deathworlder cadets. They're calling it the Selection Protocol. Winners advance. Losers are expelled. They want us to fight each other, Maya said, understanding immediately. Prove that we're nothing but weapons. The first trial is tomorrow. You're paired against a Krillian cadet who arrived yesterday. Maya, Krillians are apex predators from a world where the atmosphere itself is toxic, Maya finished. I know. This is the moment, Kyle said quietly. The absolute truth your father programmed. Will you become the weapon they want? Or will you show them another way? Maya looked at her friends, her allies, her chosen family. Tomorrow would bring the greatest challenge yet, but she wouldn't face it alone. "Get me everything on Krillian physiology and psychology," she ordered. "If they want a demonstration, I'll give them one they'll never forget." The game had evolved beyond simple moves and countermoves. It had become a war for the soul of the galaxy itself. And Maya Rourke, daughter of Marcus Rourke, carrier of humanity's greatest secret, stood at its center. Tomorrow, everything would change. The arena was packed beyond capacity when Maya entered for the selection trial. Every screen in the academy was broadcasting the event, and she knew millions more were watching across the galaxy. The Evolution Syndicate had turned this into a spectacle, and she was the main attraction. Her opponent was already waiting in the center ring. The Krillian stood 8 feet tall, its exoskeleton shimmering with an oily iridescence that indicated active toxin secretion. 4 arms ended in razor-sharp claws, and its compound eyes tracked her movement with predatory focus. This was Kha'Zix, the apex survivor from a world where the rain could melt steel. "Cadet Rourke," Director Naleth's voice boomed across the arena. "Cadet Kha'Zix, the rules are simple. Combat continues until submission, incapacitation, or death. Medical teams are standing by, though their effectiveness with Krillian toxins is limited." Maya saw the trap immediately. If she held back, she'd likely die from Kha'Zix's poisons. If she went all out, she'd prove she was nothing but a killer. Either way, the Syndicate won. "Begin," Naleth commanded. Kha'Zix moved with terrifying speed, covering the distance between them in 2 strides. Maya rolled aside as claws raked the air where she'd been, leaving trails of acidic vapor that made her eyes water, even through her helmet's filters. The Krillian was faster, stronger, and literally toxic to be near. In any conventional fight, Maya would lose. But this wasn't about conventional fighting anymore. As Kha'Zix lunged again, Maya did something unexpected. She spoke in the Krillian's native language. A series of clicks and chemical markers reproduced through her suit's systems. "Your clutch name is Kha'Zix of the Scorched Valley. Your home spawn was destroyed in the industrial contamination of Cycle 93. You fight because you have nothing left to lose." Kha'Zix paused, its compound eyes dilating in shock. No human should know these things, should be able to speak the chemical language of its people. Maya continued, dodging another swipe but not countering. "My father studied your people, not to exploit, but to understand. He learned that Krillians fight not from aggression, but from grief. Every battle is a funeral dirge for your lost world." Silence. Kha'Zix roared in Galactic Standard, its voice a harsh rasp. "You know nothing of loss, soft skin. My father was murdered for believing your people deserved more than being weapons." Maya replied, still evading, still not attacking. "I could kill you. My father's knowledge tells me exactly where your nerve clusters are, how to bypass your exoskeleton, which frequencies will shatter your chitin. But that would make me exactly what they want." She stopped moving, standing perfectly still in the center of the arena. "So I choose another way. I choose to trust that you're more than just a weapon too." Kha'Zix's claws were inches from her throat. The crowd was screaming, some calling for blood, others begging Maya to defend herself. But she stood firm. "They promised you a cure," Maya said quietly, so only Kha'Zix could hear. "For the genetic damage from your world's poisoning. That's why you're here. But it's a lie. Kha'Zix. I've seen the files. They don't want to cure you. They want to replicate you." The Krillian's claws trembled. "You lie." "I'm many things, but not a liar." Maya slowly reached for her helmet, removing it despite the toxic atmosphere around Kha'Zix. The crowd gasped. Direct exposure to Krillian toxins was fatal to humans within minutes. "What are you doing?" Kha'Zix demanded. "Proving that I trust you," Maya gasped, already feeling the toxins burning her lungs. and showing them that we're more than killers. We're people who can choose. For a long moment, they stood frozen, predator and prey. Except Maya had refused to be prey and Kha'Zix was remembering it was more than just a predator. Then, Kha'Zix did something that stunned the entire arena. It retracted its toxin glands, pulling the poisonous atmosphere back into its body. The effort was visibly painful, fighting against millions of years of evolution. But it did it anyway. Why? Kha'Zix asked. Because my father believed that understanding could overcome fear, Maya replied, swaying on her feet as the residual toxins worked through her system. Because someone has to break the cycle. Kha'Zix caught her as she fell, its forearms surprisingly gentle. The soft skin speaks truth, it announced to the arena. I yield, not from defeat, but from respect. The arena erupted in chaos. This wasn't supposed to happen. Two Deathworlders showing mercy, showing choice, showing humanity in its truest sense. Medical teams rushed in, administering antitoxins to Maya, while the board convened an emergency session. But the damage to their narrative was done. The live broadcast had shown the entire galaxy that Deathworlders could choose compassion over conquest. Maya woke in the medical bay to find an unexpected crowd around her bed. Kha'Zix was there, along with her usual allies, but also dozens of other Deathworlder cadets she'd never met. Word of what happened had spread. You could have died, Commander Cross said, her voice mixing anger and admiration. But I didn't, Maya replied, her voice rough from the toxin exposure. And now they can't deny what we are. The board is furious, Kyle informed her. They're calling for your immediate expulsion for reckless endangerment and failure to follow trial parameters. Let them try, Kha'Zix rumbled, its translator giving its chemical speech a mechanical tone. The clutch bond has been formed. Any who strike at Maya Rourke strike at all Krillians in the Academy. And all Therakians, another Deathworlder added. All Voidwalkers. All humans. One by one, the Deathworlders in the room pledged their support. Maya had done more than win a fight. She'd started a revolution. Arden slipped through the crowd to her bedside. The Syndicate is moving. Your stunt forced their hand. They're accelerating their timeline. What do you mean? I intercepted communications. They're bringing in someone special to handle you. Someone from your father's past. Before Maya could ask more, alarms began blaring. Not the standard emergency signals, but something older, deeper. The Academy's original warning system, from before it was a school. All cadets and staff remain in secured positions. The announcement came. We are experiencing a systematic failure of the station's core systems. The lights flickered and died, replaced by emergency power. Through the medical bay's windows, Maya could see ships approaching, their designs unfamiliar but somehow wrong, as if they violated the basic principles of physics. Those aren't Syndicate ships, Cross breathed. Those are X-matter vessels, Kale finished, his four eyes wide with fear. Ships from beyond our galaxy. The threat your father was really preparing for. Maya forced herself out of bed, ignoring the protests of the medical staff. Her body was still weak from the toxins, but her mind was racing. This was it. The moment her father had encoded into her DNA, the absolute truth he'd spoken of. How many, she asked? 3 ships, each carrying approximately 500 beings, Arden reported, his fingers flying over a portable interface. They're not responding to any communication attempts. They wouldn't, Maya said, pieces falling into place. My father knew they were coming. That's why he developed the integration protocols, not to create an army of Deathworlders, but to unite us against something worse. The station shook as the first ship attached to the hull. Through the chaos, Maya heard something that chilled her to the bone, the sound of metal being reshaped, reformed, consumed. They're not invading, she realized. They're harvesting. The station, the technology, us. We're all just resources to them. What do we do? Taro asked, his fur standing on end in pure terror. Maya closed her eyes, reaching for the knowledge locked in her genetic code. The partial unlock from the Void Beast encounter and her choice with Kha'Zix had opened pathways. But she needed more. She needed complete access. "Gather everyone," she commanded, her voice carrying new authority. "Deathworlders, regular cadets, instructors, everyone. We make our stand together." "Against ships that can reshape matter," Jex protested. "That's suicide." "No," Maya said, feeling the warmth spreading through her body as more of her father's knowledge unlocked. "It's human. We face impossible odds and find a way anyway." The medical bay became a command center as cadets and staff rushed in. The station's defenses were failing systematically. The X-Matter beings, somehow corrupting the very code that ran the systems. "I need access to the station's core," Maya announced. "The quantum computer that runs everything." "That's in the restricted zone," Cross said. "It's probably already compromised." "Exactly where we need to be." Maya turned to the assembled crowd. "I'm not going to lie to you. We're facing something our galaxy has never seen before. These beings exist partially outside our dimensional framework. Conventional weapons won't work." "Then how do we fight them?" someone asked. "By being unconventional. By being human. By being Deathworlders." Maya felt the final locks in her genetic code responding to the situation. "My father discovered something about these beings. They can manipulate matter and energy. But they can't understand choice, sacrifice, the illogical decisions that define life. That's our weapon." She organized them into teams, mixing species deliberately. "Kha'Zix, you and Thorn take point. Your natural defenses might slow their matter manipulation. Jex, Taro, you're with me, Arden." "I'll handle electronic warfare," he said, understanding immediately. "Kale, Cross, coordinate the evacuation of non-combatants. If we fail." "You won't," Kyle interrupted. "Your father believed in this moment. In you. So do we." The journey to the station's core was nightmarish. The X-Matter beings were everywhere and nowhere, existing as distortions in space that reformed the station around them. Walls became tentacles. Floors became acid. The very air tried to strangle them. But the mixed teams worked. Kha'Zix's toxins corroded their matter manipulations. Thorn's rocky hide provided shields that couldn't be easily reshaped. And the humans, Maya especially, made choices that the beings couldn't predict or counter. When they reached the core, Maya found what she'd feared. The quantum computer was being consumed, converted into something alien. But at its heart, still protected by her father's encryption, was a single, uncorrupted node. "Hold them off," Maya ordered, connecting directly to the node through her neural interface. The download was overwhelming. 20 years of research, combat techniques, integration protocols, and most importantly, her father's discovery about the X-Matter beings. They weren't invaders. They were refugees, fleeing something even worse from beyond the galactic void. Their aggression was desperation. Their consumption was starvation. "I know what to do," Maya announced, her eyes opening with new purpose. "But I need everyone. Every Deathworlder, every cadet, every person on the station." "What are you planning?" Cross demanded. "My father's ultimate protocol. Not a weapon, but a bridge. These beings attack because they can't communicate with us. They exist partially outside our dimension. But Deathworlders, we're edge cases. We exist at the extremes of what's possible in our galaxy." She turned to Kha'Zix. "Your species can survive in conditions that shouldn't support life." To Thorn. "Yours can endure pressures that would crush atoms." To Arden. "And whatever you really are, you're not quite in phase with normal spacetime. Are you?" Arden smiled that mysterious smile. "Perceptive. Together, we can create a resonance, not to destroy them, but to talk to them." "That's insane," Jex said. That's human, Maya corrected. We're going to save the galaxy not by fighting, but by doing what my father always believed in, understanding. The X-matter beings were closing in, the core room warping around them. Maya linked everyone through the quantum computer, using her father's protocols to create a network of consciousness that spanned species and dimensions. Now, she commanded. The resonance was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Dozens of species, natural enemies and allies alike, united in a single purpose. The Deathworlders formed the bridge, their extreme biologies allowing them to touch the dimension where the X-matter beings truly existed. And in that space, between spaces, Maya spoke to them, not with words, but with concepts, emotions, the universal language of conscious beings facing extinction. The beings stopped their attack, their forms solidifying into something almost comprehensible. They were beautiful and terrible, ancient beyond measure, and utterly, completely terrified. Through the link, Maya shared their story with everyone. A galaxy consumed by entropy, a desperate flight to survive, a misunderstanding that had led to violence. We can help each other, Maya projected. Your technology, our resources, not as conquerors and conquered, but as allies. The lead being, if such terms applied, reached out with something that might have been a hand. Maya took it, feeling reality bend around the contact. In that moment, her father's complete legacy unlocked. Not just combat techniques or integration protocols, but a vision of a galaxy where difference was strength, where understanding conquered fear, where even the most alien beings could find common ground. The X-matter beings withdrew, but not in retreat. They reconfigured their ships into something new, an embassy station that existed partially in both dimensions, the first bridge between galaxies. As the crisis ended and the station returned to normal, Maya found herself once again before the board of directors. But this time, she wasn't alone. Every cadet, every instructor, even Commander Cross and Kale stood with her. The Evolution Syndicate is finished, she announced. Their plan to weaponize Deathworlders has failed. We've shown the galaxy another way. Director Nalith started to speak, but Kha'Zix stepped forward, its chemical voice filling the room. The old ways are dead. Maya Rourke has shown us the future. Deathworlders not as weapons, but as bridges. We stand with her. All of us, the crowd echoed. Nalith looked at his fellow directors, seeing the writing on the wall. The board acknowledges the new reality. Cadet Rourke, you are hereby promoted to Special Liaison between the Academy and the X-matter Embassy. I accept, Maya said, on condition that all Deathworlder restrictions are lifted immediately. Agreed. As the assembly dispersed, Arden approached Maya one last time. You did it. You fulfilled your father's dream. We did it, Maya corrected. All of us together. So what now? Taro asked, bouncing with excitement. Maya looked out at the stars, where the X-matter Embassy hung like a jewel between dimensions. Now we learn. We grow. We prepare. For what? Jex asked. For whatever comes next. The X-matter beings were running from something. Eventually, we'll need to face it, but we'll face it together, as equals. She turned to her friends, her chosen family. My father believed humans were special, not because we're the strongest, but because we never give up on the possibility of a better tomorrow. Today, we proved him right. Tomorrow, we build the future he envisioned. The Academy would never be the same. The galaxy would never be the same. And somewhere, in whatever afterlife awaited heroes, Marcus Rourke was smiling. Maya Rourke had come to the Academy seeking revenge for her father's death. She'd found something better, a way to honor his life. The girl who had put 4 cadets in medbay with 4 moves had become something more than a warrior. She'd become hope.